Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Yankees Roundtable podcast. I am Matthew Schmidt. He is Tommy Wild, and we unfortunately will be talking about the Yankees being down 2-0 to the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALDS. Tommy, when this series started, I picked the Yankees in 4. I was obviously wrong. I was very wrong. They're now down to they might get swept. So right off the bat, let's just get right into it, Tommy. Do you think this series, this ALDS from Yankees and Toronto, do you think it's already over?
I mean, it's a fair question. The Yankees have looked outmatched in the first 2 games, both with their offense, pitching, all of it. The Blue Jays just look like a better team right now. Mm-hmm. Is it over? I have trouble saying yes, it's over right now. And my main reason for that is that the series shifts to the Bronx. And the Yankees typically play better in front of their home crowd, especially in the postseason. Mm-hmm. No matter who's on the Yankees roster, I just feel like Yankee Stadium is one of the toughest places to play in the playoffs. I think the Blue Jays, if they don't end up winning game 3 and just ending it right now or this next game, I do think that if the Yankees can win game 3, and obviously it's a must win for them, then they can sneak their way into winning game 4. And then all of a sudden it's a brand new series. Yeah. So I don't think it's over because the series is shifting back to Yankee Stadium. And even though not everyone has performed at the top level in the Yankees lineup, it's still a dangerous lineup. Aaron Judge, I mean, he very well could be the MVP this year. Mm-hmm. Giancarlo Stanton, we talked about him being, playoff Stanton in our last podcast. Yeah. He always turns it on when they need him the most. Mm-hmm. Cody Bellinger is another former MVP. So I look at this roster, I look at this team, I look at where the series is headed, and it's hard for me to say that it's already over. Now, maybe that's being a little too optimistic because the Blue Jays, like I said, have looked so much better, but it's just so hard to say that it's already over when you have the roster that they have.
Yeah, see, I tend to agree with you because if they do win game 3 on Tuesday night, that's Rodon. Rodon actually has probably been the most consistent pitcher all season. Even like Fried had the better numbers, but Rodon was more consistent all year long. They won game 3. Then you got Cam Schlittler in game 4. Who we saw what he did against Boston.
Yeah,
in the Walker series. Yeah. And then if they are able to win those 2 games in the Bronx, you go back to Toronto, but then you could have Max Fried on short rest in game 5. And I don't think Max Fried got shelled in game 2. I don't think he's going to have 2 bad games in a row. So I don't think it's over, but at the same time, Tommy, like this Yankees team, we think of the Yankees, we think of the lore, right? Mm-hmm. Of like the 90s Yankees. No, this team is not that team. They don't
not
have
at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No. So I don't want to say it's over, but it's going to be very, very difficult for the Yankees to come back and win this series because Tommy, you have 23 runs the first 2 games. I mean, that is absolutely it's mind-boggling to me. They have 20. At time, if I would have told you going into game 2, Max Fried's on the mound, and the Yankees, Tommy, they're going to score 7 runs with Max Fried. You would think, oh, that's a win. That's
easily.
No, they gave up 13 runs. They gave up 13 runs. And, one positive, I will say their offense did start to break through a little bit in game 2. Even in game 1, they were hitting lasers off of Kevin Gausman, but right at people. So maybe game 2, their offense, maybe the bats kind of woke up a little bit. Bellinger finally hit a home run. Stan had a couple hits, a couple RBIs. Judge had a couple hits. So maybe their offense is waking up a little bit here, but they haven't gotten a single home run from Judge or Stanton yet. Stanton came close against Boston, hit off the wall in game 3 in the wildcard series, but Judge is hitting singles. Stanton's mostly been hitting singles. Again, he had that double. But they need more production from the offense, and they need a complete game from their team in general. They haven't gotten that this series. Maybe they get in game 3 and kind of flip the light switch on here going through the rest of the series. But it's going to be, as you said, Tommy, the Blue Jays are playing out of their mind right now. It's going to be very, very difficult for that to happen.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, the biggest thing with this is it over? Maybe not. But either way, it's going to be very, very hard for the Yankees to actually win the series.
Very tough.
So maybe they force a game 4. Not over quite yet, but yeah, it's going to be tough for them to actually go out and win it for sure.
For sure. And, talking about the Blue Jays, the way they've been playing, who this team kind of reminds me of, Tommy? Do you remember the 2002 Angels?
Vaguely. I was 2 years old, so I've heard about them, but okay. I can't say I remember watching their game.
Okay. Well, the 2002, they just bludgeoned teams in the playoffs. Bludgeoned teams, right, with their bats. They had Troy Glaus and Garrett Anderson, a bunch of great hitters in that lineup. This Toronto team kind of reminds me of that Angels team. and the Yankees are just running into a buzzsaw here in the first 2 games. But my question here, too, now on a deeper level, we always think of the Yankees in Boston, right? And I would actually venture to say the last 7 or 8 years, the Yankees' biggest rival has been the Astros. They can't beat them in the playoffs, but that's been their biggest rival. Now that the Astros seem to be kind of fading a little bit, the Blue Jays, are they becoming the Yankees' new big rival now?
I mean, in order for there to be a rivalry, I feel like it's got to go both ways. And right now, it just feels like the Blue Jays own them. Like, and I say that like tongue in cheek, but I'm kind of serious. Like, the Blue Jays owned them throughout the regular season, and I think going back to last year, the same deal. Like, when I think of a rivalry, like you think of the classic back and forth, like forcing a game, game 7s, winner go home situations, and I don't know. Like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Maybe from one side, it's the biggest rival, but from the Blue Jays side, they're maybe sitting there thinking to themselves, not a chance. What rival? What are they talking about? Yeah. We own them. So, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
To me, when you think about Yankees rivals, obviously the big one's the Red Sox. And to me, at least, it hasn't felt like that rivalry has been, top of sports the past few seasons. I think the Astros are a great example of a team that has been their rival. They've seen multiple times in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I could see moving forward where the Blue Jays become that rival, where they're the new team where maybe the Yankees can't beat, or the Yankees keep taking to these win or go home series throughout the way. So I don't think that they're at that level yet. I don't think that right now, as we talk in 2025, the Blue Jays are the Yankees' biggest rival. I definitely think that it can get to that point, and I think that seeing what happens in the rest of this series will help us figure that out. But as of right now, it's still a little too early. It's still a little too hard for me to say that the Toronto is New York's biggest rival.
You know what kind of bothers me, Tommy, about this series, these first 2 games? Toronto seems like they want to kill the Yankees. Like you see, like. Right, like Vladimir Guerrero, when he's hitting those home runs, like he looks like he's like on a mission.
Yeah,
the Yankees don't have that same, like I mentioned the '90s Yankees. There's no, and I hate to be that guy who goes back to the '90s Yankees and back over the old days, but there's no way they would lay down like this Yankees. They had more fire than this. The Blue Jays seem like the team that like with the more fire here. And the Yankees better wake up because Toronto isn't going anywhere. They just signed Vladimir Guerrero to a decade and a half long contract. Mm-hmm. They're not going anywhere.
Anthony Santander, he's not going anywhere. I mean, maybe he hasn't been great, but they're all in. They are all in.
They might re-sign Bo Bichette. It's very possible. He's not playing in the series with a knee injury, but they might re-sign him. He led the team RBIs this year, right? So you look at, and you got Dalton Varsho now. It's like a new Alejandro Kirk, another Yankee killer. I don't know what these guys. It's amazing how these guys come out of the woodwork and just become Yankee killers. So, but yeah. I think the Yankees better start taking Toronto more seriously here because Toronto is here to kill. You could just tell that they have that look in their eyes that the Yankees just don't have right now. And I think that's a little bit of a concern. And the Yankees better think, this is a team in the AL East. Yeah, we know about Boston, but Toronto's going to be here for a long time. And the Yankees better get used to it.
Yeah, you know what I thought when Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit that home run or the grand slam in Game 2, the thing I immediately thought of was like the way he did that bat flip, the way that, to me, it was disrespectful and it was awesome. Yeah. If you're a Blue Jays fan, you're thinking it's awesome. To me, it felt like he was sitting there saying to everybody, I'm the star of this series.
Yeah.
Not Aaron Judge, not Stanton, not Bellinger. I'm the star. So I'm with you. Toronto, they're ready to play against the Yankees, and it's definitely shown.
Yeah, for sure. And even if the Yankees do mount a comeback here, Tom, we got to talk about the bullpen. This bullpen, I mean, and I don't want to just pick on Luke Weaver. We see his name on the screen right here. I don't want to just pick on him, but his ERA in the playoffs, Tommy, please read it for me.
135.
135. Now, I know it's a small sample size, but he has been horrible. What has happened to him? Like last year, he was a lights-out reliever. Remember, in the playoffs last year, he was great. He was phenomenal. During the season, he was great. This year, the first couple of months, he was very good. He hurt his hamstring in June. He hasn't been the same since. Now, he had a couple of stretches where he looked like he was getting back to his old self, but he's a free agent at the end of the year this season. I just can't see the Yankees re-signing him. And going on another level issue with the bullpen in the playoffs, even if the Yankees somehow manage to come back and win this year, which is a long shot, but if they manage to come back and win this series, how are they going to win a World Series where you can't trust a lead late in the game? You just can't trust it. I mean, we saw in Game 1 against Boston, the Yankees free pitched a gem in Game 1 against Boston. And what happened? Weaver came in and blew it. And it's not just Weaver. It's been the bullpen in general. The second half of the season has been horrible. They don't really have any one player they can trust in that bullpen. So, Tommy, do you think that even if the Yankees somehow have to come back here, do you think that the World Series chances are kind of shot just because of Luke Weaver and the bullpen struggling so much here?
I mean, it has to. It has to be. The bullpen, it might be one of the most overlooked parts of any group of players in sports.
Yeah.
Bullpens in the past have absolutely carried teams throughout a postseason run.
Remember the Royals?
No, 2015 Royals. I was just about to say it. Just about to say it. They absolutely carried teams through playoff games. And even with star-studded lineups, the Yankees definitely have some stars in their lineup. Sure. If you don't have a bullpen that can hold on to that lead, there's no way you can at least feel confident about your chances of winning a full series.
Right.
And to go off of that as well, I think, and we're going to get into this maybe if the Yankees don't pull off a historic comeback, who should be on the hot seat possibly? Mm-hmm. The Yankees went out and redid this bullpen, not just at the trade deadline, but last offseason as well.
Yeah.
The fact that we're sitting here in October of 2025 saying the bullpen needs to be fixed after what the front office has done, it's jarring. It really is. The fact that they can't figure out what group of guys is going to make it work, especially when those group of guys have been successful in other organizations in the past. Yeah. So, again, Luke Weaver's name's on the screen. I think the 135 ERA is just what immediately jumps out to you.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's been the bullpen as a whole has been struggling, and it definitely makes you question and wonder even if they can force a Game 3, how far can the Yankees truly get in the postseason?
Yeah. You said it, Tommy. They went out and got Devin Williams last offseason. The deadline, they got Jake Bird, who's not even on the roster right now. They sent him down AAA. He stunk in AAA too. They get Bednar. They get Duvall. Now, Bednar and Duvall have been they've been okay, but they haven't been great, right? They haven't been great. And when the Yankees made those moves at the deadline, I was like, oh, wow, they just solidified the bullpen. This team now this is going to be a great team. But it actually for a little stretch, it actually got worse, the bullpen, if that's even possible. But, yeah, it's definitely something they're going to have to address in the offseason, which we'll kind of get to right now.
I think one more thing. One more quick note on this. Yeah. You mentioned that, Duvall and Bednar haven't been great. But the Yankees got them to be great.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem. That's the issue. You got these guys to be great. You got these guys to be reliable, lockdown postseason arms, and they just haven't quite been there.
Not at all. No. And going now, talking – I don't want to make this the Yankees obituary here, but –
Series still has to be played. Game 3 is still in the future, true. Matthew.
True. It's true. But let's just say they lose a series, right? Tommy, is Aaron Boone on the hot seat here? Or should he be in the hot seat?
It's such a tough question because I feel like this is a question that has been asked for the past 5 postseasons or past 5 off seasons.
Yeah.
And I think we're coming out of it talking about the bullpen and the bullpen construction and how it just hasn't worked out. I look at this series and it's hard for me to say, man, if Aaron Boone would have let Fried go one more bat, or maybe he would have gotten it out. I don't come out of these games thinking to myself, man, what's Aaron Boone doing hitting Judge there? Or what's Aaron Boone doing playing Judge in right field when his elbow is clearly bothering him? Well, they have Stanton. They have to have Stanton play DH. So to me, it's hard for me to look at this and say that these are managerial or in-game adjustment things that have been the biggest problem for the Yankees so far in this series and even throughout the year as well. I mean, for me, it comes down to certain players just not living up or performing at their highest capability, or the just overall construction of this roster that just hasn't quite worked out. So it's hard for me to say that Aaron Boone should be on the hot seat. I think that he's great with New York media, which not every manager is. I think that the players, they do respect him and see him as the leader of the clubhouse, which is what can sometimes happen when at the end of a managerial tenure. But I don't know. It's hard for me to say that, getting a new manager fixes the bullpen, getting a new manager fixes the lineup. So right now I have to say no.
So here, it's so tough because I think Aaron Boone does get a bad rap. As you said, there's only so much a manager can do, right? Like you can't go out there and hit a home run. You can't go out there and not make an error, right? You can't go out there and throw a strike. But one thing I will say is this. I do think there comes a point, especially for a franchise like the Yankees, where things get a little stale and things need to be shaken up. Now, do I think Boone will be fired? No, I don't. The Yankees, remember, his contract was supposed to be up originally after this season. Mm-hmm. The Yankees extended him through 2027 for the year. They're not getting rid of Boone. And so Yankees fans, as much as they wanted, they're fantasizing about it happening, it's not going to happen. Boone is going to be – the question is, should he be? Not will he be, right?
Right.
So he's going to be there in 2026. The players love him. The organization loves him, all that. But there's just something about this team. And, again, I don't think it's just the manager. I don't think he's to blame. But they lack – we saw in the World Series last year against the Dodgers. They remember that time, that one inning in Game 5 last year where they just imploded. Now, it's not Aaron Boone's fault that Aaron Judge dropped a routine fly ball. It's not his fault that Garrett Cole didn't cover first base. We get all that. But it reeks of staleness. Like that might have been the Yankees' peak last year because at this time last year, they were playing much better baseball in the postseason. Much better. Remember, they had
Juan Soto was in the roster.
Well, that is true. that is true, Tom. That is true. That's true.
However, he changes quite a bit.
it does, but at the same time, I will also say that last year the Yankees weren't as good defensively as they are this year. Like you went out and got Bellinger, you got Goldschmidt. Now Goldschmidt not starting, Rice been starting the playoffs, but you understand he's a defensive
McMahon, player. I think he's been a defensive upgrade.
Yes,
for sure.
So. And I think also I would even venture to say even with Garrett Cole being out this year, I would say that even the pitching staff has been better this year than it was a year ago. At least the starting rotation, not the bullpen, right? But honestly, I think what we really have to do is almost look up top here because the Yankees front office. I mean, Brian Cashman, to me, I think he gets a bad rap as well. But I think he's been a good general manager most of his tenure. But Tommy, Yankees has been lighting him up the last 5 years. Like lighting him up. But the Josh Johnson trade was a major blunder. We all saw that coming. I think everyone knew that was coming. And some other moves he's made, it's been like kind of hits.
Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo. Who could forget Joey Gallo? Right, ruined his career.
He's a pitcher now.
I mean, come on. All right. So I think there's not just one reason why the Yankees have not been the Yankees that the brand says they are, and getting embarrassed like this by Toronto, they get swept. First of all, if George Steinbrenner were still here, God rest his soul, if he were still here, Boone would have been gone 5 years ago. Like that's just how. And that's not, I'm not saying that's right, but that's how George. He was very reactionary. How Steinbrenner, the new is his son, acts very differently. He is a different regime, and I think Yankee fans still haven't come to grips with that fact. Who were around in the '90s for that dynasty, they want Aaron Boone gone, but they don't understand it's not George Steinbrenner anymore. It's not him anymore. So, do I think Aaron Boone should be on the hot seat if they if they get swept here? Should he be? I think most managers, after an 8-year run where they're not able to get over the hump, most of them would be on the hot seat at some point. I think they would. I think Aaron Boone's leash is probably a little too long. But again, like as you said, I don't think we can sit here and blame him. But what manager in baseball can you really sit there and blame? Like even in Pittsburgh, right? Blake Shelton got fired this year.
Right.
You're going to tell me Blake Shelton's the problem with the Pittsburgh Pirates? I mean, that's a horrible organization. Let's be honest. So, but at the same time, a lot of times the manager becomes a scapegoat, and there does have to be a move that's made sometimes just to get rid of that stale factor. I think that could be what's happening here.
Yeah, and I think the stale factor, I think that's a great way to sum it up. And to your point, at what point does that stale factor start creeping its way up? At what point does the stale factor say, hey, like the roster that's being built, maybe the manager's not making some decisions, but at what point is the roster that was constructed just not working out?
Right.
So, like you said, I don't think he should be. That's not going to stop the conversations from happening over the offseason, assuming that the Yankees don't go on to win the World Series this year.
Yeah.
Just looking increasingly unlikely, but that's always going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't personally think he should be yet, but it's going to be a topic of conversation for sure.
For sure. And the Yankees just know he's not getting fired. Just don't get your hopes up. He's not. It's just a conversation. He's not getting fired. The Steinbrenner loves him. Ryan Cashman loves him. The players love him. He'll be there next year, regardless of what happens in the playoffs this year. Even if they get swept, he's going to be there. But kind of on that same kind of wavelength, what do you think, Tom? What do you think is the Yankees' biggest issue? Because they have one of the biggest payrolls in baseball. You look at their roster: Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Cody Bellinger. You got a ton of former MVPs here. Paul Goldschmidt was an MVP as well. 4 former MVPs in your team this year. Mm-hmm. You got Max Fried. You got Carlos Rodon. You put together a bullpen of names that most regular baseball fans would at least know of. What do you think really is the problem here? Kind of a slight little all-season preview here. If the Yankees do get eliminated, what is the issue to solve here?
I think that it's just not everything clicking at the same time. The rotation has had its moments throughout the year. Fried was fantastic in his first year as a Yankee, his first year in pinstripes, and his first not big league start, his first playoff start as a member of the Yankees. Right. He was great in as well, but the offense didn't back him up.
Yeah.
Or you have the bullpen, which the bullpen is times this year. Like we've said, Luke Weaver has been a good pitcher, has been a good closer throughout his career. But at the time that Luke Weaver is pitching well, maybe the offense isn't clicking and isn't scoring runs to put him in save situations. So I think it's just a lot of things that you have a roster that should be good and can be good and has been good. It's just not all clicking at the same time. And then you have a series like Toronto where nothing's clicking at the same time. Part of you wants to say it's cliche, it's baseball, that's just how it works. But I don't know. I can't give you a great answer. It seems like a cop-out, but like there's so many things you can point to and be like, that should be a strength and it's a weakness, or that should be a weakness and it's a strength. So I don't have a lot to say about this. I think that it's their biggest issue is they have the roster, but the roster is not clicking at the same time as each other.
Yeah, and as far as it being just baseball, I do think the Blue Jays right now with the way they're hitting, it's kind of like a perfect storm. Mm-hmm. That's why I brought up for those who are old enough to remember the 2002 Angels, that team was like the perfect storm that year. And I think this Blue Jays team is kind of similar in that regard. So it is, especially in Game 1 when you saw the Yankees hitting like line drives all over the place right at people. There's only so much you can do. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
But this is going on now. They haven't won a World Series since 2009. This is one of the longest World Series droughts in franchise history. Last year was the first World Series appearance since 2009. There's something wrong here. And we can sit there and knock the Yankees for player development, all this stuff, but they've actually done a better job than – because Yankees fans, I'm going to tell you right now, you're spoiled. Most of you Yankees, you are spoiled because you'll knock the player development, but the Yankees, they're in the playoffs every single year. They're winning 90-plus games almost every single year, and they're contending almost every single year for a World Series. Every year they're in the World Series conversation. So something is going right, but at the same time, something's going wrong. And you look at the roster, and tell me, you look like you have Aaron Judge. Bellinger is a free agent. I think they will re-sign him. At least they'll go to a great length to re-sign him. Trent Grisham, I think, is gone. I don't think they're going to keep him. I think it's either one or the other with Bellinger and Grisham because you got Jason Dominguez and you got top prospect Spencer Jones coming up as well. But then you look at the rotation. You're getting Garrett Cole back next year. I did an article on this today, Tommy. Bleacher Report posted a trade idea of the Yankees trading for Sandy Alcantara. Now, I don't think they need Alcantara. I don't think their rotation. When Cole comes back next year, you're already going to have like a surplus of pitchers as it is. They're probably more likely to move a starting pitcher than to acquire one. So I don't know that there's a problem there either. And then you look at the bullpen, I think, is the issue, like the primary issue. But last year they had a good bullpen too, and they still lost. So maybe they need another bat somewhere. You would have thought maybe they pursue Alex Bregman in free agency, but they went out and got Ryan McMahon at the trade deadline. He's on the contract through 2027. They're not going to be. Chances are they're not getting rid of him this offseason unless they trade him somewhere else to sign Bregman, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's just not how the Yankees operate in today's day and age. George Steinbrenner would have, not the current regime. So I don't really know. Kind of like you said, it's hard to look at this roster and say, okay, where do you improve? Where do you improve at? And not only that, but let's also keep in mind something here too. This Yankees regime is a lot more cost-conscious than your dad's Yankees. Right, a lot more cost conscious. So Hal Steinbrenner, remember, Tommy, last year, during the last year in the offseason, There were rumors about the Yankees pursuing Nolan Arenado. Okay, now it's a good thing they did because Nolan Arenado is cooked. But if they wouldn't go out and get him or even make a move at third base unless they were able to unload Marcus Stroman's $18 million salary. So George Steinbrenner is probably rolling over in his grave thinking over $18 million you would make a move. But that's what the Yankees do. That's how they operate. So if they do re-sign Cody Bellinger, it'll probably take at least, in my opinion, at least a 4-year, $120 million deal, if not more. And if they do re-sign him, are the Yankees going to go out? They just signed free to a monster contract in the offseason last year, right? Are they going to go out and spend big money on another acquisition if they just re-sign Bellinger to a big deal? And if somehow they re-sign Grisham, I don't think they will, but if they re-sign Grisham as well, do the Yankees have money left in the till to make any other moves? It's just things you have to keep in mind and consider because this Yankees team is not – they do not operate like the 90s Yankees in the early 2000s Yankees did.
Yeah, I think you've said a couple really good things there, and it's made me think about, well, what's the Yankees' biggest issue? And I think I kind of want to change my answer now. I think the rest of baseball is caught up to them.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the Yankees were it. They were the ones. If it was a big-name all-star free agent, they're a Yankee. If it was a Cy Young winner free agent, they're a Yankee.
Yeah.
The Yankees didn't lose players like Juan Soto to the Mets
No.
because there's no one else. There was no other organization spending that much money, not only on free agents, but on coaching staff, on player development. And now you look around the league and it's the Mets and they're spending all their money. You look at a team like the Padres who are in a small market and they've spent a ton of money. So Houston's another great example as well. So I think maybe some of this is just in the past, it's been the Yankees. They've been the number one spender. They were the number one team in terms of, player development and developing players, but also signing big name free agents. But you look around the league and there's other teams doing the exact same thing. So it's more competitive. And when you are in a more competitive market, you have to figure out a way. Well, in the Yankees case, what's our next way to get over that curve and be in front, not on the same level as everyone else? So honestly, I think I've switched my answer. I think I know what the issue is now based on a lot of things you said.
That's a great answer, Tommy.
I think everyone's just caught up to him.
That's a phenomenal answer, really is. Because now because honestly, we mentioned Guerrero earlier, right?
Right
away, Yankees. Oh, he'll be a Yankee one day. He just signed a $500 million contract to stay in Toronto. Yeah, guys aren't flocking to the Yankees anymore like they once did. It's not this kind of thing where one day they'll be a Yankee. Not necessarily.
Right.
I mean, Juan Soto. I don't think it was the best decision in the world, but Juan Soto did. But what just happened. But he still left. He left for not much. I mean, $765 million. The Yankees offered I think it was $760. Mets offered $765. There was incentives in the deal. Mets had one less year in the deal, so it came out more per year. But I mean, come on, how much more? At that point, the money is negligible when you're making $800 million.
Right. I'd hope it would be at least.
He just decided to leave, and we're at a point that you never would have saw that happen in the 90s and 2000s. In the early 2000s, you never would have seen it. A-Rod stayed with the Yankees. It probably took less money than he could have gotten elsewhere, probably. That's a great answer. It's true. I think the league has caught up to the Yankees for sure. And you look at the team with the Dodgers really not right now the new Yankees.
Agreed.
They are the new Yankees. And they might win the World Series again this year. They might go on a run when they win 4-5 like the Yankees did in the 90s and the early 2000s. It might happen. Yeah. And it's at a point now where, Yankees fans might have to come to grips with the fact that you're not going to dominate the league like you once did. It's just not going to happen anymore. And also, I think one more thing here on this topic. When the Yankees lost to the Marlins in 2003 in the World Series, that loss kind of changed baseball. And the reason why that Marlins, now if you look back, that roster was loaded, the Marlins roster in 2003. You look back now, but at the time, no one knew who Miguel Cabrera was. No one knew, right? Don Trullo just came up as well. No one knew who Josh Beckett really was. That was you had Pudge Rodriguez, but otherwise you didn't have any really known names. That kind of said it okay, we don't have to have a huge payroll to win here. We just need to develop our players. And they'll be able to win World Series. Even like the Dodgers, they made a lot of big signings. They've had great players. Their farm system is still somehow among the top in baseball. It's incredible. Whereas the Yankees right now is toward the bottom, at least in terms of most rankings. Now, I think it's a little underrated, but it's toward the bottom in most rankings. I think that World Series in 2003 really changed how teams look at baseball. Now, you don't have to spend big money anymore. You need good pitching. Right? You need to develop your players and draft well and scout well. And that's what teams have. I mean, we just did the Guardians podcast earlier. Look what the Guardians have been doing with their scouting, right? It's true. And they're right there. They're not much worse than the Yankees. They're really not. They're right there.
They won the season series against them.
They did win the season series again. They did. So that's something also we need to also think about. Like the Yankees may need to change their strategy here in terms of how they go about conducting their business and constructing their roster.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Tommy, or what do you think about this series? What do you think?
I think the Yankees win Game 3. There's just no way in my mind I can see the Yankees getting swept to the Blue Jays. I don't know. Maybe that's just history speaking there, but I have such a hard time seeing that happen. So I think the Yankees do win Game 3, but I think ultimately it does end up being Toronto who wins Game 4. You just look at the way the two teams have played so far, and the Blue Jays have had every single answer for everything the Yankees have thrown at them. Yeah. And you're getting to the part of the Yankees rotation where maybe there are a few other holes versus, an unknowns. I know it's Rodon, and then after that would be Game 4 would be Schlittler, correct? Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. So maybe the rotation is in a solid spot, but I don't know. I just feel like the Blue Jays have had answers for everything that the Yankees have thrown at them.
Yeah, I think the Yankees will win Game 3. It's Rodon against Shane Bieber. Bieber's a pretty good pitcher when he's right, though. We know that.
And he has a lot of experience against that team as well.
A lot of experience. So I do think the Yankees win Game 3, but would I be shocked if they lose Game 3? At this point, no, I really wouldn't be. As tough as this to say, I just wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens here. Next time we have this podcast, we could be talking about the Yankees advancing to the ALCS, or we could have a much more in-depth podcast on what the Yankees will need to do in the offseason in order to beat the Blue Jays and the rest of the teams in the American League and just in general next season. But for the Yankees Roundtable podcast, I am Matthew Schmidt. He is Tommy Wild. Make sure to check us out at Roundtable Sports and the link below in the banner. Please take part in our community, and we'll get a nice little back and forth conversation going there as well. So we'll be able to continue this conversation. And for that, hopefully the Yankees win Game 3. Regardless, we'll be seeing you here next time. Have a good one.